The Overly Sarcastic Productions rabbit hole has been a fun one to go down, but so far we've been focusing on Western literature. As you can tell behind me, I'm kind of a fan of Eastern literature as well, be it Banana Fish, we got Elfenlied, don't judge me, and of course, also Dragon Ball, sort of where it all started for me. But what was the inspiration for Dragon Ball? That's what we're going to look at today. Welcome back, friends, and a special welcome to all the new friends out there. I'm YoBGS, and yeah, a lot of you, I mean most of you, have been recommending if I watch Overly Sarcastic Productions, I have to check out Red's series on Journey to the West. It's basically this really old, I guess, Chinese book that I know is the inspiration for Dragon Ball and a ton of other media, so I'm really excited to see what it's all about. If you like these videos, by the way, please check and make sure you're subscribed. Subscribing helps the channel out way more than anybody realizes, and only like a quarter of the people who watch these videos are subscribed, so that would help me out a ton. Here we go. Legends summarized: The Monkey King, Journey to the West, Part 1. That is a mouthful.
The Journey to the West is one of China's 4 great classical novels. It's an ancient allegory for enlightenment.
I have to go back already.
Of China's 4 great classical.
We got The Water Margin, Dream of the Red Chamber, and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I recognize this. I think Romance of the Three Kingdoms is a video game.
Novels. It's an ancient allegory for enlightenment, and it's approximately 2,000 pages long. As such, it's not exactly a text I could easily summarize in a single video of rational length. Anyway, the Journey to the...
Been there before, man. You do that in journalism, right? You try and write a news story, and they send you a press release this long, and you're like, yeah, I don't know what you want me to do with this, but writing a story on it is not going to be happening.
The West is packed full of symbolism, dense literary context, and some majorly influential characters, and it's widely agreed upon that the most memorable of these characters is Sun Wukong, the mischievous Monkey King. Sun Wukong's most famous mark on the modern world is probably Dragon Ball's Son Goku, a character
I was about to say, that looks awfully familiar as looking at the book behind me.
Specifically designed to emulate the abilities, appearance, and overall impulsive...
Sticks? Okay, that's fair. Bow staff. Hair. All right. We all got the anime pro tag hair today. Tails, not so much. Where is the brain? Super strength and clouds. I'm about it.
Goofiness of the original Monkey King. But Sun Wukong's influence is far from being restricted to anime. Stories based on the character's exploits have appeared in almost every form of media, which is why it might come as a surprise to learn that he isn't the main character in the Journey to the West. That honor belongs to the monk Xuanzang, a character so vital to the plot that we don't even know he exists for the first 7 chapters, which are instead devoted exclusively to the life of Sun Wukong and how he made it his mission to single-handedly piss off every deity in all 3 of China's major...
Alright, let's see what we got here. We got suddenly monkeys. Okay, very fair. Monkey becomes immortal shockingly quickly. Alright, this is feeling kind of like Dragon Ball. Monkey gets a stick and beats up the underworld. That seems familiar. Son Goku, Sun Wukong, is Heaven's problem. Alright, so he's going to learn the Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb. Then he becomes everyone's problem. Goku does turn into a monkey. Sun Wukong gets his, well, yeah, that is basically most... Is that Shantae? But that is basically most of Dragon Ball. And then Chapter 7 is very interesting.
Major religions.
Okay.
Now, I am nothing if not faithful to my source material. So in keeping with the structure of the text, this first video will be covering the history of Sun Wukong, and then in later videos, we'll see about actually getting to the rest of the not inconsiderable length of this text. So
I'm here for it. I'm very much here for it.
Our story begins on Flower Fruit Mountain, an island paradise full of dragons, magic birds, immortal peach trees, and one really big rock. Allow me to direct your attention to this rock, as it is about to perform a magic trick. Ta-da! The rock splits in half, revealing another rock. But this rock is special. It's actually a rock egg, no, not that one, and it appears to have an...
Wait, is that actually a magic card?
This rock is special. It's actually a rock egg, no, not...
Defender, this creature can't attack when rock egg is put into the graveyard from battlefield. I don't know why I'm reading this as if it's part of the lore. Of course, there's a Simpsons reference for everything, and there's a magic card for everything.
That one. And it appears to have inherited the magic prowess of its daddy rock, as it scarcely existed for more than a minute before it abruptly transforms into a stone monkey. Now, this monkey may have spontaneously generated barely 3 seconds prior, but he already knows his manners, so he bows to the 4 cardinal directions, and in the process inadvertently activates his laser eyes, which cause...
All right, love it. A minute and a half into the video, 10 pages into the book, we're already firing our lasers.
And in the process, inadvertently activates his laser eyes, which cause quite a disturbance when they shoot all the way into the palace of the Jade Emperor, the head honcho of heaven himself. So the stone monkey hangs out with a friendly population of not stone monkeys who one day decide to follow their favorite river up to its source, whereupon they find that it comes, unsurprisingly, from a big fancy waterfall. So all the monkeys are like, oh man, if only one of us were impulsive enough to jump into the waterfall and see what happens, we'd make him the Monkey King. And the stone monkey is like, did somebody say impulsive, and dives in. So on the other side of the waterfall, he finds a gorgeous cavern decked out with an iron bridge and an enormous stone mansion, fully furnished with all the necessities of life.
I also love the I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. As if, like, a stone monkey would have expectations, right? Didn't he just join the, I was gonna say humankind, but primate kind, like, minutes ago, and now he's already king of the monkeys? This is reaching Bill Wirtz levels of fast-moving plot.
Monkeys are understandably impressed, and they all pile in to live in this newly discovered cavernous paradise. And for his achievement, the stone monkey is now officially crowned the Monkey King. So the monkey population of Flower Fruit Mountain live in peace and security for several hundred years, but one day, Monkey King has an existential crisis, pulls a Gilgamesh, and goes on a quest for immortality. 9 years and 2 continents later, he finally finds an
But how many Dragon Balls? This is so close to, it's so funny, because even the back of Dragon Ball, check this out. I don't know if you knew this, but it says right at the top, can I get that to focus? Probably not. The Monkey King. So it is like verbatim. Verbatim. Oh, now he's going on Immortal Sage that way. Oh, I thought it said Immortal Sage Highway. And I was like, oh, Snake Way.
Little Taoist sage who lives on top of the mountain of heart and mind in the cave of the slanting moon and 3 stars. Man, these names are a mouthful. So the immortal sage Subodhi takes on the Monkey King as one of his disciples, and he gives him a new name, derived from a large number of increasing...
Whoa. Red.
...as one of his disciples, and he gives...
As my pupil, you'll need a new name and surname befitting a Taoist practitioner.
...a new name, derived from...
Now, because you monkey or Husu, I might call you Who, and if we drop the animal radical, we're left with, which means old woman, and that's no good, so let's try instead. Now, drawn, and we drop, and it, which means... this is not bad cropping on my part, by the way. This is just how this looks.
...a large number of increasingly complex character traits, and long story short, his name is now Sun Wukong. So after a 7-year training montage...
This is the part where people normally yell at me. They're like, stop pausing so much, because if you just wait, it'll all be explained to you. Oh my god, when it changed from white to black, there's a whole nother set of text. Me when any teacher tries to explain anything ever.
His name is now Sun Wukong. So after a 7-year training montage, Subodhi finally teaches Sun Wukong a way to become immortal, which Wukong starts practicing. Another 3 years go by, and Sun Wukong is feeling pretty good about life. He's practicing the Tao, he's functionally immortal, and life is good. But Subodhi warns him that he's not out of the woods yet. Turns out, the Court of Heaven doesn't actually approve of this method of immortality, and will send down 3 calamities in an effort to kill him, one every 500 years. First, they'll strike him with lightning. Then later, if that didn't work, they'll set him on fire. And finally, if neither of those do the trick, they'll straight up disintegrate him. This understandably wigs out Sun Wukong, but
so Sun Wukong in the horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day.
Do the trick, they'll straight up disintegrate him. This
I was about to say, what kind of immortality doesn't help with fire or lightning?
Understandably wigs out Sun Wukong, but Subodhi offers to teach him the art of the earthly multitude, which will let him transform into 72 different things. With this, the 3 calamities won't be able to touch him. He also teaches Wukong how to fly, just because. But, unsurprisingly, giving awesome cosmic powers to a suicidally impulsive magical monkey leads to some wacky hijinks, and Master Subodhi has to kick him out so he won't accidentally reveal his secret teachings. So Sun Wukong, now immortal, 20 years older and hypothetically wiser, at last returns to the Water Curtain Cave on Flower Fruit Mountain, and he returns just in time, since the monkey population has been being harassed by a monster known only as the monstrous King of Havoc, who's been intermittently stopping by and kidnapping them to use as servants.
Which makes sense, right? Their king immediately vanished, so now they're left wide open to anyone else who would want the powers behind the waterfall.
So Wukong goes and challenges the monster to a duel and proceeds to absolutely kick his ass with his newfound Taoist superpowers, and then he rescues the captive monkeys.
If you're wondering how I can copy myself, even I don't know. Yoink.
Kick his ass with his newfound Taoist superpowers, and then he rescues the captive monkeys and flies them all back home. So all is well on Flower Fruit Mountain, but Wukong decides that his monkey kingdom should probably have a monkey army, so stuff like the kidnapping thing doesn't happen anymore. On that note, Wukong also takes a trip down to the Dragon Palace in the Eastern Ocean, to see if the Dragon King has a weapon befitting his strength that he could borrow. Long story short, after dismissing every superpowered weapon the Dragon King offers him, Wukong...
This almost feels very... and I always call it Ghibli, but isn't it Ghibli? I was very, like, Ghibli-esque in some regards. It's way less toned down, but maybe it's just because the idea of the magical dragon, like, and the way it's animated just has that stuck in my head. I don't know, but like, it's on my mind.
Ends up taking an obscenely heavy magic size-changing iron pillar out of the palace treasury and using it as a staff. So Wukong's very happy with his new weapon and asks the Dragon King for some fancy new duds to go with his fancy new stick thing. And by now, the Dragon King is so terrified of this super powerful
17,000 pounds. I'd be acting the same way if I could pick that up. But it's also wild how storytelling, even back when this was put together, like, the amount of fantastical details in it are so cool. And comparing this to the mythology that we've looked at with Overly Sarcastic before, it's really interesting how Greek mythology looks to seem to explain phenomena or traits or natural things, but this, I don't know, maybe I'm missing the allegory here, but it feels very much like it's just meant essentially for entertainment in a wild way. Like, I don't know, because there hasn't been a whole lot of lesson to this point.
Then he gathers all of his dragon brothers, and together they assemble a fancy outfit for Wukong just to get him out of their house. When he returns to Flower Fruit Mountain to show his mates his gear, he gets so hyped up that he briefly turns into a huge demonic caricature of himself, which terrifies the local demon population so much that Demon Kings show up at his front door to form an alliance with him.
Bull Demon King, Dragon Demon King, Gerudo Demon King, Lion, Ape, and Female.
So life is going pretty well for the monkey.
Wait, a female Monkey King? Oh, female Monkey Demon King.
Show up at his front door to form an alliance with him. So life is going pretty well for the Monkey King, until one day, while taking a nap, he's abruptly kidnapped by two emissaries of Yama, the King of Hell, who carry him off to the underworld. Wukong is understandably pissed, seeing as this is technically death and violates the whole immortality deal, and he starts bashing his way into the Palace of Darkness to lodge a complaint with the 10 Kings. So the 10 Kings are like,
whoa, there must have been some kind of mistake. I mean, there must be a bunch of dudes named Sung Wukong, right?
And Wukong is like, yeah, right. Show me where that's written down. So they sort through all the ledgers of the dead until they find the one about him, and he scribbles out his name, along with the names of as many monkeys as he can find, thus freeing them from the jurisdiction of the underworld gods.
Good for him! I mean, and I love that it was even a death note, so he took himself out of the death note.
Satisfied, Wukong bashes his way back out of the underworld, then wakes up and tells all the monkeys the good news. But all is not well in the Kingdom of Heaven, as the Jade Emperor finds himself inundated with complaints about this Monkey King who keeps causing trouble. So at first the Jade Emperor wants to have him arrested for his shenanigans, but the Spirit of Venus suggests instead that they offer the Monkey King a position in the bureaucracy of heaven, whereupon they'd be able to better control his actions and easily discipline him if need be. The Jade Emperor gives the thumbs up, and they send down the Gold Star of Venus to deliver the offer to Wukong, who eagerly accepts. So the Gold Star takes him up to heaven and takes him to meet the Jade.
Why would he? So why, given the fact that Sun Wukong is immortal, why would he want to become like a celestial middle manager, you know? He has everything he wants on Earth.
Emperor, who appoints him the position of Pima Wen, which makes him the head of the Imperial Stables. So Wukong thinks that's pretty sweet, and he's fairly chill with the whole situation until he thinks to ask what exactly his rank is, whereupon he is informed that Pima Wen is actually the lowest possible position in the entire bureaucracy of heaven.
Exactly! Look, they say don't deal with don't deal with deities. I feel like that's just a good lesson, because this always seems to be what happens, especially in fables.
Wukong, being a bit of a diva at this point, is understandably pissed, and once again bashes his way out of heaven and returns to Flower Fruit Mountain to sulk. So Wukong decides to make himself feel better by calling himself the Great Sage equal to heaven, and meanwhile, the Jade Emperor learns of his temper tantrum and sends down several celestial soldiers to capture him. The first among these is the mighty Spirit God, who challenges Wukong to a duel. Wukong's like, dude, just tell—
Did that seriously say, come fight me,
Spirit
Scrub
God,
Lord?
who challenges Wukong—
God, this channel is so... Like, just the little details and, I don't know, the dialogue that couldn't possibly match the dialogue but matches the tone
to a duel.
is hilarious.
Wukong's like, dude, just tell your boss I want a better title. And the mighty Spirit God is like,
why don't you tell him yourself? In hell!
And gets utterly destroyed for his troubles. So then Prince Nada confronts Wukong, who's like, what are you, 12? Look, kid, just tell your boss I want to be called Great Sage equal to heaven, alright? And Nada's like, I'll show you who's 12! And transforms into a big scary monster with a butt ton of weapons. Wukong is—
Okay, so Sailor Moon turned into Sailor Medusa.
Of course, unimpressed, and matches the transformation with one of his own. They fight for a while until Wukong gets the drop on Nada with a duplicate and smacks him with his stick thingy. So they tell the Jade Emperor what happened, and the Emperor is all like,
how dare he resist arrest? Clearly we must execute him!
But the Gold Star of Venus, apparently the only voice of reason in the entire heavenly bureaucracy, suggests that rather than risk their entire army on one super powerful immortal monkey, they just give Wukong what he wants, an empty title. So they do, and a department is set up in heaven for him to lounge around in and not cause trouble. Unsurprisingly, Wukong is completely down for spending his days languishing in heaven, being waited on hand and foot by celestial spirits determined not to give him a reason to go on a rampage. But
who wouldn't want to be? Although, he's gonna go on a rampage because this is an ancient fable and we're only 6 minutes into part 1.
One of the resident Taoist immortals suggests that Wukong might end up getting bored, which carries with it the terrifying possibility of the great Sun Wukong rampaging through heaven looking for entertainment. So the Jade Emperor assigns a relatively harmless but time-consuming duty to Wukong, tending the Garden of Peaches of Immortality. Wukong's super down for that, but quickly finds that having to maintain a garden full of delicious immortality-granting peaches without eating any of them is impossible for his poor impulsive brain to handle. So, if you've been taking notes, this means he's now double immortal. But this comes back to bite him on the butt when the—
So, okay, so Wukong, forget Dragon Ball at this point. Wukong is double ascended And again, we're only in like chapter 4.
Time comes for the Queen Mother of Heaven to hold her annual Peach Festival, and her 7 color-coded immortal maidens enter the grove only to find that it is notably lacking in peaches. They inadvertently wake Wukong up, who decides that he wants to go to the festival too. So Wukong paralyzes the maidens, impersonates a local immortal who was invited, then scoots on into the banquet hall. See, stuff like this, it's why you weren't invited in the first place. So when he arrives...
I mean, really, like, But you can't even say Wukong is chaotic evil. Like, he's chaotic neutral. He just wants food. You know what I mean? Like, he's not breaking the laws because laws were made to be broken. He just is the pinnacle of impulsiveness. Like, whatever thought comes in his brain, he's bashing his way to victory.
He's immediately distracted by the smell of wine and proceeds to make off with the entire supply of heavenly booze, which also makes you immortal. So Wukong, now triply immortal...
What?! Okay, now we're we're through the booze saga and we're not even...
And thoroughly drunk, inadvertently stumbles into Lao Tzu's little slice of heaven while searching for a place to sleep it off. And if you want to know who this Lao Tzu person is...
I'm working on it, goddammit. Ninjas, oh god!
So drunk Wukong stumbles into Lao Tzu's palace...
Do I need to check out Blue's video on Lao Tzu? Let me know in the comments.
...to say hello, but he can't find the sage anywhere. But he does find Lao Tzu's alchemical lab, in which he finds several gourds full of pills of immortality. 3 guesses as to what Wukong does next.
Calmly consider the consequences of his actions, weighing the pros and cons. Err on the side of caution and leave without disturbing anything. Or C, eat them all. So now is this gonna roll over at some point? Like, is 5 times immortal? Does 5 times immortal make you not immortal at all?
So Wukong, now quadruply immortal and abruptly sober, realizes that that might not have been the smartest move on his part, and opts to flee back to Flower Fruit Mountain to escape the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, the 7 immortal maidens, the wine carriers, the people in charge of the banquet, Lao Tzu, the officials from Wukong's department, and the immortal Wukong impersonated, all independently present their grievances to the Jade Emperor, who quickly puts 2 and 2 together and dispatches...
What do we got here? He hit me on the head and stole my wine. All there told me it, and then just more yelling. Honestly, Wukong has done more damage to heaven than any evil villain. Like, honestly, I know we're not done with this story, but I feel like he's done more damage to heaven already than any enemy in this series is going to do.
And they present their grievances to the Jade Emperor, who quickly puts 2 and 2 together and dispatches pretty much the entire army of heaven to apprehend Sun Wukong. Now, of course, because Wukong is absurdly powerful, this is ineffective, and what was supposed to be a simple capture mission turns into a full-scale battle between the forces of heaven and Sun Wukong's army of demon monkeys. Now, while all that drama is happening, who should arrive at the heavenly palace but the Bodhisattva Kuan Yin and her disciple Moksha, who came for the Peach Festival and are understandably surprised to find the heavenly palace in complete disarray. So Kuan Yin asks what all the fuss is about, and upon being briefed, she sends Moksha down to get a sense of what's going on. So Moksha arrives at Flower Fruit Mountain just in time for Wukong, who's been thoroughly kicking the collective asses of the army of heaven, to demand a fight with somebody. So Moksha and Wukong battle for a while, but Moksha unfortunately can't quite keep up with the Monkey King and has to return to heaven in defeat. But Kuan Yin, now better briefed on the situation, suggests a god who could be sent to fight Wukong.
I was about to say, is because if Kuan Yin's protege was unable to win but put up a good fight, send either of these 2.
Erlang, a powerful loose cannon of a deity who don't play by the Jade Emperor's rules. So they summon him, and he goes to confront Wukong, who's like, "Oh, hey, if you don't mind, could you send out the Devarajas to fight me? Because I'm kind of getting bored over here." And Erlang is like,
"Not as bored as you're gonna be."
And they fight. They both end up turning into Godzilla-scale monsters, but Wukong inadvertently terrifies his own army into a rout with how scary he looks. And in turn, the sight of his own fleeing army disheartens the Monkey King, who shrinks down and runs away. But Erlang isn't going to be evaded that easily, and he uses his magical third eye, he has one of those, to find Wukong, who's turned into an innocent-looking sparrow. Erlang responds,
"There really wasn't a lot of world building in this, but I guess that's okay, you know, because we tend to not like. But then again, wasn't this 2,000, 20,000 pages long? So there's got to be in the real book some filler episodes. So basically, we're learning here that Red and Overly Sarcastic is like the Monkey King Kai.
By turning into a sparrowhawk, in response to which Wukong transforms into a cormorant, and this kind of goes on for a while. Shapeshifter duels are fun. In the end, it's our buddy Lao Tzu who manages to capture the Monkey King by entrapping him in a diamond snare. Wukong, captured at last, is brought to the monster execution block, where apparently the Court of Heaven forgot the meaning of the word immortal, since nothing they throw at him hurts him in any way. So the Jade Emperor is at a loss as to how to kill him, but Lao Tzu has a suggestion. If they stick him in his magic brazier of 8 trigrams and leave him there for 49 days, they should be able to separate out the elixir of immortality from his body, and as a happy consequence, leave the troublesome Monkey King about as dead as you can get. So 49 days pass, and they finally open the brazier to extract the elixir, only to find that it's still firmly attached to Sun Wukong, whose only issue with the experience is that the smoke gave him awesome-looking red eyes. So Wukong is 110% done with heaven, so he starts fighting his way through the entire heavenly army. The Jade Emperor, now completely out of options, finally calls on his last resort, the Buddha himself. So Buddha and his 2 best disciples, Ananda
Can we talk about just how badass this is? Like, again, it's that moment where I'm getting lost in the video itself because this just rules. Like, I don't know, this makes such a cool tale for a story that just beating up all of heaven, just a thing you gotta do.
Go to deal with Wukong, who is at present fighting 36 thunder deities, because why not? So Buddha asks Wukong what he wants, and Wukong's like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling like overthrowing the Jade Emperor today. Wouldn't that be fun? And Buddha's like,
Tell you what, I'll make a bet with you, okay? If you can successfully jump out of the palm of my hand, I'll believe that you're qualified to rule heaven in his place.
And it's time for another exciting round of What Will Sun Wukong Do Next? Let's hear it, ladies.
Because, again, I always feel like Buddhism revolves around these, not lateral thinking puzzles, but puzzles that have solutions that are far outside the parameters of the question, and essentially the opposite of impulsiveness. So my guess is he's gonna go try to do it, but like the Buddha's gonna close his fists, so it's impossible to jump out of the palm of his hand, and then nothing will be done.
Ladies and gentlemen. Unsurprisingly, Sun Wukong takes.
We've got become suspicious of the apparent ease of this task and use caution, listen to reason and surrender himself to the mercy of the Buddha. Let's do this, old man. Your pasty saint fingers ain't no match for me. Bold strategy, Cotton.
Unsurprisingly, Sun Wukong takes that bet and blasts off from Buddha's hand until he reaches the very edge of the universe itself, where he finds 5 pillars supporting the sky. Wukong decides to leave a memento of himself there, graffitiing one of the pillars, and then, for good measure, peeing on it. I mean, he is a monkey. So Wukong backflips all the way back to Buddha's palm like, shows what you know, old man! I made it all the way to the pillars of the universe! And the Buddha's like,
is that so? Well, I have a little plot twist for you. See, one of the perks of enlightenment is that I'm one with everything, and as it turns out, that's not just hyperbole.
Sure enough, written on one of Buddha's fingers is Wukong's graffiti, along with the faintest whiff of monkey pee. Turns out the whole universe is the palm of Buddha's hand.
What?
So Wukong freaks out.
Oh, that's badass!
Is the palm of Buddha's hand.
Meanwhile, we got a blue plug here for the early universe. That is awesome! I love that! I love that concept.
So Wukong freaks out and tries to skedaddle, but the Buddha uses more of his Buddha magic to trap him under a mountain, which is also his hand. It's complicated. Which Wukong would ordinarily be able to escape stupidly easily, but then they stick a magic seal on top of the mountain and that's that. And it is here, under this beautiful and scenic locale, that Sun Wukong spends the next 500 years.
Man, the Buddha don't play around. In case it wasn't clear, the person who wrote this story favored Buddhism over the other 2 major Chinese belief systems, namely Confucianism and Taoism. Which is why the Confucian bureaucracy is completely inadequate at controlling Monkey, who at this point represents the uncontrolled human mind, hence his overwhelming power but complete lack of forethought, and why the Taoist sage Lao Tzu was unable to destroy him. But as stated, Buddha don't play around. This has been an overly sarcastic and a tremendous production at that. Like, my God, my mind is racing, and I feel like I only talked about like 1/10 of the things that I wanted to in this, because this is all so damn cool. Like, I don't know. I love that because of what we've done, you know, on this channel, and thanks to your suggestions, I'm getting to learn about things that I never would have considered otherwise. Journey to the West, not something I ever would have thought to cover. Again, even as somebody who loves anime and different properties that would have been based off of this, it's just so cool that, like, I don't know, to see how basically they spent the first 6 chapters establishing that the Monkey King dominates everything, and then overwriting that with, oh wait, no, there's someone who just wrecked him. It is kind of the foundation for most of Dragon Ball, though. If I'm being honest, it's very, and I'm sure that's gonna happen more as things go on. What do you think? Should I check out the other parts of this? Let me know in the comments below. Take care, my friends, and as always, I will apparently see you for the next deity.